Okay, let's start to meditate for a change. We have been reading and discussing and presenting, so now it's time for us to do some meditation. As I pointed out in the onset, none of the passages related to observing the mind repeatedly require one to close one's eyes. Nothing stated at all. So it makes sense that if you train your mind to observe itself only when the eyes are closed, then you will have difficulty doing so when your eyes are open most of the time in your wakeful hours. So please keep your eyes open. I'm sure that many of you come from a closed eye meditating tradition, and you're going to find this rather difficult. When you are not meditating and your eyes are open, you don't fall asleep. But when you try to meditate with the eyes open, then you fall asleep. That's a bad habit of the training of closing the eye in order to meditate. So please try to be persistent. Keep your eyes open. You can blink as many times as you want if you feel that the eyes are dry, but please open them again. Also, it is stated nowhere that one should be in a sitting posture when one observes the mind. In fact, you should observe the mind all the time, as long as you are awake, in any posture, whatever you are doing. So, you may stand or you may sit as you like, but try to remain still and not move around. Okay, so please keep your eyes open. Maintain a straight posture, whether you are sitting or standing. And try to look at the screen, because in this guided meditation I'm going to show you videos, and there may be a certain change in the video which will serve as a very good opportunity for you to watch how the mind changes, to watch how the mind reacts or responds to what you perceive with your eyes and even hear with your ears. Okay, so please follow this basic instruction. Keep your eyes open. Maintain a straight posture and relax. Now ask yourself a simple question. If the mind is not lost in thoughts, daydreaming, and so forth, what can it be conscious of happening right now? The mind is by nature object dependent. If it's not thinking, not imagining, not daydreaming, what else can it be aware of? What else can it be conscious of? But what's happening at the five senses. In order for us to be able to observe the mind effectively, we should first of all try to anchor the mind to the five senses. Otherwise, you will most likely get caught up in your ruminations, thinking, imagination, daydreaming, and so forth before you even realize it. So anchor your mind to the five senses. Ask yourself, what can the mind be mindful of happening right now? Once it's aware, once it's mindful of a particular sense object, for example, sounds, ask the mind, what else can it be mindful of? Even though a sense object, for example, a visual object, the screen in front of you, or a particular sound, may be there very predominantly, don't just focus on it. Be mindful that it is there and ask yourself, what else? And then move on. So the moment you are mindful of a sense object, don't stay there. Ask yourself, what else? And move on to the next sense object. For instance, after hearing the sound, then you might look at the screen. After looking at the screen, then you might come back to be aware of your bodily sensations. If there are any thoughts or comments about what you observe or perceive through the senses, notice it immediately. Don't proliferate, and then come back to the senses. Take it easy. Don't force yourself. Don't try to notice every single sense object one after another. Free and easy, touch and go. Allow the mind to pick up whatever it can, and then just move on at your own pace. Not too long, not too short. Remember to notice whatever comments are going on in your mind. Don't get caught up in them. Notice, then come back to your senses. What else? Remember, don't proliferate. Observe. Come back to your senses. Cittānupassanā is about repeatedly observing the mind. Observe it. Don't get caught up in any thoughts or comments. Don't proliferate. Anchor yourself back to the five senses. Free and easy, touch and go at the five senses. Take it easy. Be content with whatever the mind can pick up at the senses. Touch and go. Once you're aware or mindful of something, ask yourself what else, and move on to another sense object. There's no lack of sense objects. It's not like as though you have to focus just on the in-breath and the out-breath, or the rising and the falling. Your five senses are alive all the time. You can just move from one sense to another. At the same time, keeping an eye on how the mind is responding or reacting to what is being perceived at the senses, and also within itself. How is the mind reacting to a comment that it has observed? Free and easy, touch and go is a rule of thumb for keeping the mind anchored at the five senses. When it comes to the sixth sense, we have another rule of thumb, which is Ada anchor. Accept all things, don't reject, don't follow, don't ignore. Acknowledge them and anchor yourself to the five senses. So for this session, basically we are just trying to anchor the mind to the five senses to get a good degree of composure. We have one more guided meditation to go, and in that session we shall try to look at cause, condition and effect. The causes and conditions behind the mind's reaction to what is being perceived at the senses. Okay, so let's get back to work, to our workshop. Resume your discussions.